24, and I 22 loved each other so much that we started dating when he was 22 and I was 20. We were almost always together. Everyone thought nothing would come between us. And I thought so too, until I made a huge mistake that's about to cost me our relationship. My best friend and I lived together. And unlike me, who is laid back and a complete extrovert, my best friend is the complete opposite. If she's not attending a party, she's throwing one at our apartment. Anytime she throws parties at our apartment, I stayed at my boyfriend's, so as to avoid the crowd of people at our apartment during one of those weekends that my best friend threw a party. I had no choice but to stay back at mine because my boyfriend was out of town and I didn't want to stay alone at his place. I was inside my room when the party started. The plan I had was simple: stay in my room, put on my headphones to drown out the multitude sounds of people, but my plan didn't work because my best friend came into my room to drag me out. In her words, "You should live a little and have fun," she then handed me a cup that contained some of those alcoholic drinks everyone was gulping down. Shortly after drinking it, I started feeling funny, I told my friend, and she said it was normal. She later introduced a guy to me and whispered the same, "Have some fun," to my ears before she was whisked away by one of her numerous friends. The guy and I started dancing and grooving to the music after she had left us. I don't know if it was the alcohol or the fact that I was missing my boyfriend, but in that moment, when I locked eyes with the guy my best friend introduced me to, I did something I didn't think I would. I kissed him as we kissed. I had a nagging voice in my head telling me what I was doing was wrong. I shut that voice out and lived a little. Just as my best friend said, the rest of the night went in a blur, and I woke up the next morning to tons of messages from my boyfriend saying how disappointed he was in me. Unknown to me, someone had taken pictures of me kissing the guy and sent it to my boyfriend. Most of the people at the party were my best friend's friends, so I wondered who knew me enough to take pictures like that to send to my boyfriend. I knew I messed up, so I begged my boyfriend to forgive me and forget all about it, but he wouldn't hear anything I had to say. He said he was sure it was more than a kiss, and I invited the boy to my bed. After then, I assured him it was just a kiss, and I regretted it immediately. It happened. He stopped picking my calls, he'd read my messages and not reply. I cried to my best friend, begged her to help me talk to my boyfriend about that night being a mistake and not going beyond a simple kiss. I was so shocked when my best friend said she wouldn't do that. I told her it was all her fault, and none of it would have happened if she hadn't come to my room to drag me out, give me a drink and introduce the guy to me. She said I was a slang, and even if she did all those, she didn't ask me to kiss the guy. I was so heartbroken I couldn't believe my own best friend would say those words to me. My phone beeped then, and I got a notification of a message from my boyfriend. I was excited, and I hardly opened the message thinking he had forgiven me, but the message I saw from him broke my heart. "More thank God your best friend was nice enough to send the pictures to me. I got to know the kind of person you are." His text says, "I looked at my best friend with tears in my eyes. I asked her how she could betray me like that. I needed some kind of explanation. I wanted her to tell me it was a stupid mistake that she didn't mean to send it to my boyfriend. But the bish told me she meant for it all to happen. She said she couldn't stand me being in a loving relationship while she was in none." I couldn't believe my ears. Never in my life would I have thought my best friend was jealous of my relationship. I knew our friendship would never be the same. So I slapped her and walked out of her room. I cried my eyes out because the hurt was too deep. I wished I could have stayed back in my room or even gone to stay in my boyfriend's house alone that night. Instead of falling into the trap of the bish, I called the best friend I call my boyfriend, continuously, constantly sent text even though he wasn't replying. I was doing everything I could to assure him it was a mistake that had never happened again. I didn't know how he could be so stubborn. Why couldn't he believe my words over that of my so-called best friend? He hadn't caught me doing anything like that before, so why couldn't he forgive me just this one time? Instead of acting like it's such a big deal, I didn't lie about it being just a kiss and nothing more. I currently don't know. what to do anymore. All I know is I messed up and it won't ever happen again. I just need to know what I can do to make my boyfriend know this too, so we could go back to how we once were and put all this behind us, because I'm scared of losing him. Story 2. It's been almost 6 months since I confessed everything to my husband, and he walked out. I've kept the reasons for our separation vague with everyone, including even my closest family and friends. I occasionally mention that it's my fault, and everyone always tries to tell me it's not, and says it takes two, I guess. But in this case, the two that ruined everything were me and my boyfriend. It's an awful thing, and I have no excuse. My husband was not a bad husband, nor a bad father. He was actually fantastic at both, and has a heart of gold. He's not one of those uninvolved deadbeat husbands or fathers. He was very tuned in, helped with everything around the house, without me. Nagging, took initiative with the kids we had issues, and he's now become an overly lenient father when he has our kids 3 days a week, which is really pissing me off. But none of this is actually what led to me doing what I did. I just got bored. That's the simple, disgusting truth. Our spark was gone. We'd been together on 12 years and got together, really. Young kids came after things stayed exciting and new for a long time. He was so sweet and fun. Now we're both in our early 30s. Life slowed down. Money has been a constant stressor for years and years. Particularly after we had our third child, he struggles with PTSD and depression, largely rooted in his job as a first responder. Him being gone 24 hours of time is also something I never honestly adjusted to. Even though this was his job even before I met him, I got tired of him not being there either because he was at work or mentally checked out. I won't go into all the nitty-gritty details, but I met another man. Shortly after getting a part-time job, he swept me off my feet so fast our relationship grew for 5 months. I was infatuated with him. This relationship was physical as well as emotional. It wasn't hard to find time to be together or hide it, though I never brought him around. My kids eventually, the guilt just got to be too much. I told my husband everything, and he was distraught. I realized what I'd done and risked losing and promised him it was over. I had already quit my job earlier that week and told him I didn't like not fully being a stay-at-home mum to our youngest. I really did break his heart, and he didn't deserve it. I wrecked our family and have sentenced our kids to being shuffled back and forth until they're out on their own. I hate this so much and wish he'd take me back, but I don't see it happening. Comments: I think you should tell your family you cheated on him, and that's the reason he left. Even though you say it's my fault, they will forever see you as the victim of being left, rather than him being the victim of cheating. So if he ever comes back, they will have this unspoken dislike of him that he will feel. Even though he didn't do anything wrong, I'm saying this as the cheater in my relationship. And yes, your family will think you're scummy and never trust you to not do it again, but it's only fair that he not be seen as some sort of bad person. I feel horrible for your husband, and kids, you deserve the guilt and misery, though you're telling me this guy has a PTSD and depression and still manages to pull through for you and his kids. And all you can do is ponder about how unexciting your marriage was. Well, guess what? No relationship will be exciting forever, but it can be loving and strong if both parties are willing to put the effort into it. You prioritize an adrenaline rush over your family for a co-worker. A co-worker, this is seriously self-centered and self-serving behavior. If you want to make co-parenting work, please work to do better. It seems like you've taken accountability, which is a good half step, but you should be fully honest about why your marriage is ending to make the step full. It's always sad to hear these stories, but really it's quite refreshing that you're taking responsibility for this, and not blaming it to your husband being cheated on really takes its toll in the damage it gives. It really changes the person. Not sure if you could salvage this, but if you do, things would be different, even if you don't notice.